Good morning from outside the White House in Bishkek, where it appears that we have a winner in the Kyrgyz presidential election, and it also appears that for the first time in both Kyrgyzstan and in Central Asia, that there will be a peaceful transfer of power from one popularly elected president to the next. With almost all the votes counted in yesterday's presidential election, former Kyrgyz Prime Minister Sooronbay Jeenbekov received more than 54% of the vote. If that result holds, then Jeenbekov will win the presidency outright, and there will be no runoff. Jeenbekov was backed in the campaign by sitting Kyrgyz President Almazbek Atambayev, and because of that, it is very likely that there will be a peaceful transfer of power, which did not happen following the first two Kyrgyz presidencies. In both 2005 and in 2010, there were revolutions or violent uprisings that ousted the first two popularly elected presidents. Here in Kyrgyzstan, it does not appear that is going to be the case this time, and it also appears that Kyrgyzstan is cementing this reputation that it is building as a so-called island of democracy here in Central Asia. In the other Stan countries in Central Asia, there's a quite common phenomenon of essentially having presidents for life, where one president gets in power and then stays in power and has fairly autocratic regime and rather rigged elections. That's basically the reputation that the Central Asian region has garnered in its foray into democracy, or lack thereof, following the collapse of the Soviet Union. But that does not appear to be the case in Kyrgyzstan, albeit Kyrgyzstan still is rife with corruption and there are plenty of issues here, and Kyrgyzstan is not taking on a Western geopolitical course. It remains very much within Russia's orbit. When you walk around here, you hear almost exclusively people speaking in Russian. All the signs are in Russian. Kyrgyzstan is part of Russia's Eurasian Economic Union. It also has close defense ties with Russia. Likewise, Kyrgyzstan needs to balance Chinese influence, as China has an incredible amount of influence in this region. Going back to yesterday's results, heading into the election, there were two clear frontrunners. The frontrunner who was supposed frontrunner who was challenging Jeenbekov was Umurbek Babanov, another former Kyrgyz prime minister. Babanov only received 33% of the vote, so while the election was billed as being very competitive and anyone's guess who would win, the result did not end up being so close, with about a 21% gap between Jeenbekov and Babanov, and the other 9 candidates who were in the race trailed well behind. There were allegations that Atambayev and his government used state resources to illegally or unfairly back the Jeenbekov campaign, but regardless of those allegations, the election that took place yesterday is generally seen as being free, if not very competitive, and from everything that has transpired, it seems that the result will stand and that there will be a peaceful transfer of power. The rift that built up with Kazakhstan, it remains to be seen what's going to happen with that. Kazakhstan was effectively backing Babanov in the race. Babanov's a wealthy businessman with strong ties to Kazakhstan, and the Kazakh-Kyrgyz border was not closed, but there were significant checks imposed on both sides, and long queues were building up over the past couple weeks. I will actually be crossing that border tomorrow as I head into southern Kazakhstan, so if there's any action there, I will report to you on that. But I'm going to wrap up now my coverage of the Kyrgyz presidential election. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to see some extras from election day and election night, you can check out my Instagram at Freeman Reporter. That is at FreemanReporter at Freeman Reporter. And if you enjoyed this coverage, also please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye from Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan.